Hey everybody, and welcome back to a reaction video to Apex Legends Trailer Saviors event. And later on we'll be talking about the general lore that has compiled with Jackson's return. But let's get right into the trailer first.
Where did the creature come from?
The hell is that thing?
And the creature is from the previous trailer, which was really cool fight sequence.
We may never have the answers to these burning questions, but one thing is certain.
One thing is certain.
For the valiant actions of the legends, the devastation would have been far worse.
Now, wouldn't they have their own soldiers to take care of this? And these guys are just sort of entertainer fighters, per se?
It was a heroic new legend who led the charge. People of the Outlands, you have a new champion, the hero of Harris Valley, the one and only Newcastle.
Newcastle. Which is quite interesting how they sort of put it all together and relate it to Jackson as well. And here we have the Spitfire, which seems to be returning. Praise all the Rampart mains as well, getting their Spitfire back. And there's his ability, passive, revive while moving, and his tactical. And the finisher too. There's so much potential with his finisher and shield. Looking forward to seeing the other variations.
Daring adventurers willing to brave the dangers within. Target down.
This one looks really great, but I wonder what would happen if Loba just tries to steal the gun from the outside using her black market. Will the robot still spawn in a way?
Time to break some hearts.
Or nothing will happen? And new skins too? Fuse looks a little bit interesting. I'll need to take a look at it again closely. I think it's the hat. And that's a Spitfire level like 100, 110 for the battle pass. The evolving
There's no
gun.
telling what threats lie ahead, legends.
I'm a diamond man. You won't crush me.
Whatever happens, you'll need to protect
And that's his
each other
ultimate?
and let no one fall.
And yeah, it does look like it sort of pushes people that gets hit.
Real heroes.
And that seems to be another finisher too.
Approved by Eduardo Silva, paid for by the Syndicate.
Hell yeah. So the original guy turned out to be not so great, and in the previous stories in the Outlands, he had some issues with the mafia here. And so he's sadly not this guy. This is Jackson actually trying to negotiate. And there's that's the real dude just having money problems, which is interesting in a way where we knew for a long time that this guy couldn't really get into the games for the longest time. So how were the writers going to try to write in like the fact that he got in this time? And if they were trying to get Jackson and Bangalore to sort of get together again, and somehow our guy is sort of like been struggling to get into like the games this whole time to get back to Bangalore, then that wouldn't really sort of make maybe too much sense. So in this case, it's more like he's forced into the games, and since he's also like IMC skillful just like Bangalore, he got in fairly sort of, let's say, convincingly in a way, using his abilities. So it's pretty interesting. There's some people that sort of would say that the turnaround that Jackson is actually still alive versus supposed to be dead is another sort of trope that is used too often, or that characters in Apex Legends refuse to die per se, even though we literally had Revenant kill that one guy last time. It's a little bit interesting. I feel that within the story where it's Bangalore's story arc to move on from her brother and sort of come to some sort of resolution that she has to move on was quite good. that her brother was dead. She has no reason to be in the Apex games anymore to look for him, and she should move on to be with the family that she has left. I think that's the good part of the story that sort of failed bringing Jackson back. Jackson being alive all this time, I felt, wasn't the bad part. It is the story arc that Bangalore failed to complete fully until the very end, which was the problem. And when I say complete fully, is her actually leaving 100%. Sure, we had all of this sort of drinking beer at the beach at the end, and sort of coming to that conclusion that her brother was dead for real, but that is still sort of the last 100 meters to the finish line. The finish line is Bangalore actually leaving and starting a new life, which it feels like the writers cut that short and just gave Jackson back in a way. And I suppose that could be sort of criticized as a poor writing choice. But on the other hand, where would we ever see or imagine like an actual main character in the Apex games actually leave the games, and you as a player would not be able to play that character anymore? Like, you spend a lot of money on skins, on heirlooms, especially Bangalore having an heirloom for herself, and then now you cannot play the character anymore in the games because supposedly the lore and the world building is that this character left the game, so it makes sense not to be able to play the game. So that would really be quite bad. So in a sense of trying to sort of keep things together, this seems to be the solution, to bring somehow the brother back as Newcastle, and then we get a little bit more drama between Bangalore and Newcastle as well, or Jackson. So let's go back to his ability. Here, feels bad for Lifeline mains. Not only you can move your downed allies, but you can revive. They can revive themselves while you move them to safety and have a shield, bruh. At the very least, Lifeline can sort of auto drone revive teammates while she herself can shoot. Here it seems Jackson would not be able to shoot, and he will be vulnerable. But being able to move and have a shield, and the sacrifice is to be vulnerable, I think that's a good sort of pros and cons give and take in that scenario. I always felt like Gibby, who had the fast revive, and him being the big character, made sense to be able to carry down targets to safety, not to revive them, just to move them and then revive them. Being like his background being like a sort of person who goes out to save people. But it's good to see that mechanic come here, and hopefully they sort of make reworks to Lifeline. And whatever those reworks may be, we'll sort of maybe discuss it another time. But this seems to be another finisher. He thrusts his shield forward and then hitting the target. Let's go a little bit forward. This seems to be the new Spitfire, looking really nice. A lot of Spitfires, at least that I've seen, and the ones that I've owned, I don't particularly like. They are just really big and just did not fit sort of a subjective, opinionated style that I'm looking for, that feels too good. And so this one, I'm really looking forward to it, to actually have a skin that I will use all the time. And I think this sort of Spitfire skin would look really good. Getting to look at Fuse, I think it's just a helmet. I think I enjoy or like other Fuse skins a little bit more, but that's not saying too much. Like, the most recent Fuse skin was the underwater sea one, and I'm not a big fan of that one. And then this one looks a little bit more gladiator style skin, and I kind of prefer this one a little bit more, as he's just all armor, but I'm not sure on the helmet side of things. Let's see if I can find just a little bit more skins. This is the ultimate. it's also pretty cool that you can bounce objects off his shield. I do wonder, would grenades would then have to bounce, and then arc stars maybe should bounce, or would they get stuck on this wall? But then what else should bounce off of this besides Maggie's ball? But with this wall, it does provide cover from the front, and it seems to be at a that's not too wide, like a 45-degree angle, like 3 rampart walls that usually she would try to place. And that Maggie's just one shot in the head. Okay, but basically I do wonder if this ultimate will be not as good when it comes to like crypto ultimate that should be able to destroy it, or would people just chuck grenades over the wall and you basically still don't have any protection unless you throw out your tactical to sort of shield yourself from grenades being thrown over your ultimate wall, and then you, when those grenades sort of explode, then you sort of turn that shield around to sort of protect yourself. So I've not been too convinced on his ultimate too much, but maybe it has to be, or would be, a little bit weaker when it comes to actual gameplay later on, because his revive mechanic is that much stronger. Also, he's a bigger character as well, so I wonder if he will have the fortify ability. And I guess that will only have to wait and see. With that case, that's it for this trailer and sort of Jackson backstory, I guess, and just the decisions that the writers made to bring him back into the game, and how they sort of made sure that Bangalore actually does not leave the Apex games as well, which is a little bit interesting. With that said, I hope to see you all again soon. Let me know what you think till we meet again.